Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. I had somebody ask me to talk about hunting. Well, first, I want to point out that that is extremely stereotypical. Um, you know, not everybody that sounds like me hunts. Not everybody who lives in the South hunts. There are people who lived their entire lives in the South and never gone hunting. I'm not one of those people, but I'm sure they exist somewhere. I used to hunt 10, 15 years ago, something like that. I had an epiphany about the nature of hunting, and I stopped. And right now, all the vegans are like, "What? No, no, no." I realize that it is always before the sun comes up, and I don't want to get out of bed. That's really why I don't. Um, Before we really get into this, I want to say if you hunt and you eat that animal, I'm not talking about you. I am not talking about you. If you hunt and you eat that animal and you put that animal's head on the wall, I think it's a little weird, but I'm not really talking about you either. I'm talking about trophy hunters. And it's become a trend among the wealthy. They go after exotic animals mostly. You can read that as at risk, endangered, however you want to say it. They want to go after the rare. Now, typically, it happens in the U.S. sometimes, but typically they pay tens of thousands of dollars to fly over to Africa and go on one of these canned hunts. Now, if you're not familiar with how these hunts work, basically, some would-be great white hunter hires a team of people that do all the work for him. Um, the guide finds the animal, which is typically an older, sick animal, um, and the porters do everything else. The great white hunter in this case typically just walks out and takes the shot, and then brings back a artifact from that animal, and we are all supposed to be impressed with his marksmanship because he was able to hit something the size of an elephant, because it was actually an elephant. Now, the rebuttal from this crowd is that these fees, these tens of thousands of dollars, they go to conservation efforts. There's some truth to that. A huge portion of that money does go to conservation, but that's only part of the story. That is only part of the story. The uh, the thing is, what happens when a bunch of wealthy people start doing something? It becomes a status symbol, right? Everybody else wants to do it to show that they can do it. They're keeping up with the Joneses type of thing. So, what if they don't have the money for those fees? What happens then? There's a market that's not being met for these artifacts. And that's part of what goes on with poaching. So these canned hunts actually help maintain the market and provide the drive for the market that they're saying they're trying to combat. So it's not entirely true. And more importantly, something that is definitely worth noting is that these poachers are typically linked to some warlord in the area. And the profits then turn into violence. So I've got a crazy idea. Okay, just hear me out. Because if it was about conservation, um, they could do the safari with a Canon or a Nikon, go photograph the animal, appreciate it in nature, and all of that. But that's not what goes on, because that's not what it's really about. It's about killing something. It's about being the great white hunter. It's about proving your masculinity in a completely canned hunt. Anyway, the the thing is, my alternative satisfies everybody. First, take the $20,000 or $30,000 you're going to spend on this hunt and just invest it in the community where you were going to go. Number one, that stops this from being just an advanced form of colonialism with some guy coming over there to exploit the natural resources and leave. Number two, you may actually get your money back. Number three, it helps them become more self-sufficient, helps their economies grow. They don't want aid, they want business. So, in exchange for that investment, I am certain that somebody in the local community would be more than happy to take you on a photo safari if it's really about conservation and adventure. But it's not. So let's keep going. It's about killing. It's about proving you're a man. You want to hunt that dangerous game, right? Go volunteer with an anti-poaching task force while you're over there. You want to hunt dangerous game? Hunt the most dangerous animal of all. Some guy carrying an AK and a chainsaw out there to fill the market you helped maintain and create. Now that may be a little bit militant for some people. So alternatively, if you are interested in this topic, my suggestion would be to follow Kristen Davis. That's Charlotte from Sex and the City. She is an amazing advocate for animals in Africa, specifically elephants. And since my t-shirts have become such a hot topic as of late, I will go ahead and tell you this one is from a fundraiser she did for the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. If you happen to have some cash laying around, those guys have their stuff together. That they do a lot of good. The Fifth Column actually sponsored an elephant from them a couple years ago named Bongo. Anyway, just a thought. Y'all have a good night.